So in this module we've been looking at data analysis expressions, or DAX, and in this demo we're going to look at how we can create some measures, some calculated tables and some calculated columns using Power BI. Now in the lab load itself there is a snippets file that will help create some of this stuff, which will give us the correct syntax for some of the DAX functions we're going to use in here. So I'm just going to switch to data view. Right, we can see we've got a data, we've got two tables of two queries, products and sales, and the various items that are in there, and then at the top here we have our calculation options. Right, we've got new measure, quick measure, new column, new table. Right, I'm going to create a new table, so I'm going to hit new table and I'm going to create a date table in this case using the calendar auto function. All right, so calendar auto, this will look at the earliest and latest dates in our data set and create a date table with contiguous dates from the start of the earliest year to the end of the latest year. The brackets are there. You can specify the end of your fiscal year by specifying a month end date. So if your company's month end was the end of June, you would put that as a 6 in parentheses, right? But by default it will just go to the standard date year. Now that'll create me, oops, that hasn't done what I wanted it to do. Let me just get rid of that and delete that. It looks like I've created that as a column. So let me just delete that from the model. Yes, I do want to get rid of that. Thank you. And we'll start again. So I'm going to choose new table. That's actually what I wanted. I think I probably chose a column. Right, so I'm going to choose calendar auto, click on enter, and it'll give me a set of contiguous dates from the earliest to the latest. Right, now I'm going to want to build up my date table here. I've got my dates in here. I'm going to add a column to this, so I can now choose new column. It's important I choose the new column option and just not replace the calendar auto feature. And I'm going to add a calculated column called year. So the name to the left of the equal sign is the name of the column in this case, and then we've got a literal string cy, and then we are concatenating, and then we're using the year function, and we're extracting the year part from our date column. So if I hit enter there, this column becomes year, and we get calendar year concatenated with the year part of the date. Then I'm going to add a month column, so I'm going to come back to table tools, and I'm going to hit a new column, and I'm going to put the month column in here. All right, so it's going to be month, and we're just going to using the format function here. We're formatting the date to be in the 4-part year, 2-part month format. Okay, so we've got date, year, month in here. We're now in pretty good shape. Now, what if I switch to report view? There is a I could have done this in a couple of places. I'll just click back on report view here. But if I right click on the date table and come down to mark as the official date table, it will get me to select the date column. We only have one. Alright, and then we're going to click on OK. Alright, so we now have a table that's been created from a DAX function in our model. This doesn't exist in Power Query. Go to Power Query. This won't exist. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to build a relationship between our date column and our order date. So I'm going to drag this down here. Let me try that again. There we go. And that'll build me a relationship, and we've marked it as the date column as well. Now I can come up to my visual here. Right, and if I were to remove, say, the products hierarchy from my matrix, excuse me, and then I'm going to quickly switch back to data view, and I'm going to right click on here, and I'm going to create a hierarchy. I'm going to call this calendar, and then in the hierarchy, what am I going to have in here? I'm going to have, actually, I'm going to have year, I'm going to have month, oops, year. I'm actually going to get rid of date, and I'm going to put year at the top so we can go down to the month level. Click on apply. Yes, I do want to delete date. Now I can come back to my matrix here, and I can drag calendar into my rows, and then I get a breakdown, sum of our quantity sold, sum of sales, and an average unit price on a calendar year basis. Okay, so I can add perhaps a calculated column to my sales table, right? So I've got a table that already exists. I might want to add a calculated column to that. So what I'm going to do here, I've selected the sales table. I'm going to come. I've got the table tools up here, so I can choose a new column. This will give me a DAX function window, and from there I'm going to put in a table, a column called cost. And cost is going to multiply quantity, and then it's going to multiply it by the related product cost, right, which we'll find in the products table. So if I click on that there, right, it adds cost in. I can format it up here to the number of decimal places, so I can format it to 2, right, and I can add that if I want to my matrix. Right, and if I get rid of the formula bar, you can see we've got the sum of costs in there as well. Now I can create a quick measure. So if I right click on the sales table, again there's a few ways I can do this, but I can do it from the table tools. But if I go new quick measure, it'll start up a quick measure box for us. Now in here we're going to take sales, and we're going to do a calculation on that. We're going to do a subtraction. Alright, so what we're going to perform here, I've got to find it, is a subtraction. Right, and we're going to take sales and we're going to subtract cost. Right, and we're going to click on OK. This will add a column, this will add an extra option under fields for our measure. It's not a column, it's a measure, which I'm going to rename, and I'm going to rename that profit. Right, so we've created a calculated column called cost. We've created a quick measure called profit. I'm now going to create the profit margin measure to calculate our profit margin, and that's going to use the divide function, and it's going to divide profit by the sum of sales. So if I go new measure here, it'll give me a new measure toolkit. Right, and we're going to call it profit margin. We're going to divide profit by sum of sales to give us the profit margin. I can change the format here to be a percentage as well, and I can add both profit and profit margin to the matrix. Right, just get rid of the DAX function window. There we go, we've got profit margin and profit. And then to finish up, we can use some of the sort of time series functions. We're going to use total year to date to calculate the sales year to date. So I'm going to create another measure here, and I'm going to add in a measure. I'm going to call it sales year to date, and we're going to use total year to date sum, and then we're going to pass in the date function. We'll add that measure to our table, and I'm going to add sales year to date in here, and then we can expand it out. Right, we can see we get the total, and then we get a running total down to our final figure for the year, and then it'll reset for the next calendar year. Okay, I'm just going to save that file, and that brings us to the end of the DAX demo, where we have created a date table using DAX. We've created some calculated columns, and we've added some additional measures to the sales table. I'm just going to save that there.